After this new wave of crash, most people will accept any solution as they will be too desperate. When people become desperate enough, those in power can make most of them do just about anything. The first wave of isolation put us in the worst economic recession since the Great Depression of the 1930s, causing suicide rates to rise around the world and dropping millions of ordinary citizens into a state of deep despair. Now, another wave of isolation is unleashing across the planet, and it will pave the way for the solutions the elite plans to offer us all in 2021. It's been said that if you want people to be willing to accept a solution, you need to let them know they have a problem first. And when this dark winter is finally over, almost everyone will be absolutely desperate to return to their normal lives. More and more severe restrictions are being imposed with each passing day. For example, a brand new stay-at-home order was issued in Los Angeles County. All public and private gatherings with anyone outside a single household are now banned in Los Angeles County, as most of the country grapples with an unprecedented surge of COVID-19. The ban will last 3 weeks, starting Monday and ending December 20. It will be good if the lockout was really lifted before the end of the year, but for at least the next 3 weeks, all of the 10 million people living in Los Angeles County will be forced to stay home as much as possible. All 10 million residents are asked to stay home as much as possible and wear face masks when outside, even when exercising at the beach and parks, said the Los Angeles County Department of Public Health, which issued the order last week. Moreover, California Governor Gavin Newsom warns that it could soon impose much more dramatic, arguably harsh, restrictions on the entire state. California Governor Gavin Newsom just warned that more drastic steps could be taken to contain the virus after the state reported another more than 15,000 new cases yesterday. The Golden State could be facing much more dramatic, arguably drastic, measures to contain the spread of the virus. The state also broke its record for hospitalized patients yesterday. The state reported 7,415 coronavirus hospitalizations, with more than 1,700 of those patients in ICUs. The number of hospitalizations broke the state's previous record on 7,170 in July. Unfortunately, we witness similar madness all over the country. The new restrictions that were just established in New Mexico caused so much panic that people would soon wait hours to enter a supermarket to shop for food. New Mexico Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham has put immense pressure on businesses with her abrupt lockdown order, forcing non-essential businesses to close and creating what has been dubbed modern bread lines, with people waiting 2-4 hours to enter essential retailers. Former GOP Senate candidate Elisa Martinez explained during an appearance on Breitbart News Saturday. Why would these politicians want to do it again after seeing what the first round of isolation did to our nation? So far, more than 70 million Americans have filed unemployment cases in 2020. More than 40 million people could face evacuation in 2021, and there has been a dramatic increase in suicides during this pandemic. When a 90-year-old woman named Nancy Russell found out there was another isolation in her area, she decided to opt for assisted suicide. According to CTV News, a 90-year-old woman living in Toronto took her own life via medically assisted suicide the choice made in large part due to the second surge of coronavirus cases and a looming period of increased restrictions. As I constantly remind my readers, if you look at the bigger picture, there is always hope, and suicide is never the answer to anything. Unfortunately, most people don't get a message of hope from the mainstream media, and Russell has decided that in the nursing home, the coming months will be too bleak to handle. Residents eat meals in their rooms, have activities and social gatherings cancelled, family visits curtailed or eliminated. Sometimes they are in isolation in their small rooms for days. These measures aimed at saving lives can sometimes be detrimental enough to the overall health of residents that they find themselves looking into other options. As we come to a low point with this pandemic, officials around the world are announcing that vaccines will be available soon. In fact, 10 different vaccines are reported to be available by the middle of 2021. 10 COVID-19 vaccines could be available by the middle of next year if they win regulatory approval. But their inventors need patent protection, the head of the global pharmaceuticals industry group said on Friday. As soon as the public gets them, it is inevitable that millions of people will rush to get their vaccinations so they can return to their normal lives. But what they don't tell you is that these new vaccines are completely different from any vaccines you may have had before. These new mRNA vaccines will eventually take over your cells if you get them. When Moderna was just finishing its phase 1 trial, The Independent wrote about the vaccine and described it this way. It uses a sequence of genetic RNA material produced in a lab that, when injected into your body, must invade your cells and hijack your cells, protein-making machinery called ribosomes, to produce the viral components that subsequently train your immune system to fight the virus. In this case, Moderna's mRNA 1273 is programmed to make your cells produce the coronavirus' infamous coronavirus spike protein that gives the virus its crown-like appearance. Corona is crown in Latin, for which it is named, wrote The Independent. Under normal circumstances, very few people would sign up to capture their cells, but at this point, millions will be so desperate for a solution that they will receive a vaccine regardless of the long-term consequences may be. If you don't get one of the vaccines, you may soon realize that you won't be able to fly international. The International Air Transport Association announced this week it is in the final phase of development for what it hopes will be universally accepted documentation that in turn could boost confidence among very travelers. The digital health pass will include a passenger's testing and vaccine information and will manage and verify information among governments, airlines, laboratories, and travelers. If these new digital vaccine passports apply for international travel, it is likely only a matter of time before they are also required for domestic travel. Of course, there are many people trying to be alarmed about all this, but UN Communications Director Melissa Fleming says her organization has already recruited an army of 110,000 information volunteers to combat the spread of misinformation. Fleming told the World Economic Forum that #PledgeThePause and Verified have recruited 110,000 information volunteers thus far. She said, "We equip these information volunteers with a kind of knowledge about how misinformation spreads and ask them to serve as kind of digital first responders." Fleming has stated elsewhere that the UN has reached out to member states, UN media partners, celebrity supporters, and businesses. To help us disseminate to the millions, we will need to reach with the campaign. They want to control what you think as they take you into a dystopian future that will eventually turn into a complete and utter nightmare. The truth is that none of us will ever go back to our normal lives, but the elite will continue to keep that carrot out to let you do what they want, and millions of people will fall in love with it. Most of the idea, comment, information, and criticism containing in these videos have been created by Daily News Report. Before making any important investment decision, use the information contained in these videos as a starting point for conducting your own research. If you make any investment or legal decision, it is advised to consult an expert before making this decision.